My own real adult consciousness, understanding of the world, capacity for critical thinking, was really just beginning as the planes hit the Twin Towers. My adult mind and understanding inextricably linked to an acceptance of the fall of American empire. America and her stability, as my parents and grandparents knew it, was never a reality for me. Now, I never thought this fall was necessarily a bad thing. I studied international affairs as well as in religion and said, yes, perhaps we as a country have not been great neighbors. You know, perhaps our slow decline might be good for everyone. I inherited an America in decline due to the sins of its past. However, its current deterioration, demise, is now happening in more harsh, cruel, and expedited ways than I could have ever expected. And still I inherited a world on fire, a land on fire, and in many ways we all did. And I choose to live and grow and fight amidst this world of chaos, of climate crisis, because still it is a place where I find joy and love and purpose in not just salvaging what I can, but of reconstituting a world of beauty, of love, and of justice, even if it's just in little places, in little times for now. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. It is no coincidence that I realized I was a Unitarian Universalist the same year as 9/11, the same year my real consciousness of the world emerged. I needed a faith that was real and honest, that didn't pretend everything was okay, that did not pretend to have a simple answer I knew enough to know did not exist. I needed a faith that could hold this world in its heart and mind and soul and choose it again and again. A faith that could see it with sadness, lamenting what it had become, and also see it with joy, marveling at the glimmer of every single ray of sun, and celebrating in the miracle that is every single child and every single one of us. Every single one of us. I needed a faith that was smart and thoughtful, that was heartful, hopeful, and active, helping me to join my purpose with others for real impact, and not just proclaiming that all are worthy and beloved, but making sure that we were going to get our world closer to that reality. I chose, long ago now, to cast my lot with you. To cast my lot with Unitarian Universalism, its history, and its promise. Perhaps some of you all found your way here because you too needed this kind of faith of community. Perhaps some of you long ago cast your lot with us, and perhaps some of you are just considering. And perhaps for you, like for me, today casting our lot feels more important, more grave, and more essential. Because it is. Because there is now, quite frankly, less to cast our lots with. I became a minister instead of going into foreign affairs because in my study of politics and in national and world history, what I read about and experienced myself in this nation and in others is a fight for the very souls of people. We enter into a social contract when we are a part of society. John Locke taught us this a long time ago. We always give things up to be a part of society, and in this society, too many have given up their humanity to be a part of society for too long. Some of us oppressed and ostracized, lives and freedoms of our ancestors taken, hands and backs broken, forced in chains to labor for the wealth of a few. Some of us built and still build buildings or energy sources, mining them, lives, again sacrificed, deeply hurt, for labor, for coal, for oil, for cobalt, for the profit of a few. And for still others of us, the cost is ignoring the reality of our sibling suffering. The cost is our humanity for all of us in some way. And this is a contract I am unwilling to sign. This is a contract that takes the humanity of all of us. We have enough resources in our world to go around. However, the richest man in our world has a net worth of $393 billion. I cannot even imagine it. And is currently cutting scores of government employees, claiming that they are causing our national deficit, not him or the handful of richest in our nation who pay little to no taxes or penalties for their breaking of laws that were attempting to prevent their mass accumulation of wealth. Just one more second. According to Bloomberg's Billionaire Index, none of the top 100 people in the world, 100 top wealthiest people in the world, live in this state. Just an FYI. So when I'm talking about this kind of wealth, keep that in mind. For we have a wide range of wealth in this fellowship community, in this city, but not quite like the wealth that's at the top of the top. I am unwilling to accept a social contract that benefits a very few, that keeps them comfortably removed from the rest of the world, that cuts us from all of humanity. I choose instead to reconstitute the world. Will you choose that with me? It's great news. And I know we can do it, because we have enough love in our hearts, bravery in our spirits, and sharpness in our minds to reject this very bad deal. Here, we are bold and audacious enough to make a different kind of contract, a covenant. And in our covenant, all people have inherent worth, and all people are to be treated that way. In our covenant, we show up as our whole selves and as our best selves whenever we can. We show up for and with one another. We show up for those who are in need of companionship, of love, of justice. We take care of ourselves, am I right? We rest, we find joy, we tend to the grief and the grief in our hearts and world, the pain of ourselves in our world. We reclaim our humanity together, laughing, crying, dancing. We create communities of countercultural care and we are banding together with focus for effective power in our community, creating a more just city, county, and world. Adrienne Rich again. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age, perversely with no extraordinary power, choose to reconstitute the world. I cast my lot with you all. Will you cast your lot with me, with all of us? Yes. Will you cast your lot with us? Yes. Thank you. Now, we cannot create an alternate government of social contract. We can continue to create alternate ways of living, a community and a covenant. Now, I will be very honest with you all that this is a long-haul project. This is a marathon, not a sprint. The religious right has been organizing for a very long time on small and local levels, and it is our turn to do the same. I need us wide-eyed, I need us wholehearted, and I need us focused. My ask is to show up with your whole self and to show up with your most brave, most faithful, most hopeful self, and to act accordingly. In relationship, in action, and in your financial commitments too. To cast your lot, put your faith, your actions, and perhaps some more of your wallet with this community. This is a stewardship kickoff sermon, if you don't know that yet. And truthfully, folks, I really wish I didn't need to be giving such a grave stewardship community kickoff sermon, but here we are. And the reality is that in many churches and other religious communities, tithing 10% of your earnings to your religious community is the expectation and the norm. If all Unitarian Universalists gave 10% across the nation, we'd be playing a game on a totally different level, locally and nationally. And is that not what we need to do right now to get real and get down to business? Yes, I think it is. We must start funding this faith like the safety and livelihood of our community depends on it. Because sadly now they do. We're currently hosting the area's largest trans and gender non-binary support groups in our building. We're in relationship with majority Latino churches and mobilizing quietly in ways that don't risk harm. And there are those of us here among us in our membership from both these communities and more who are now at greater risk. We must fund this faith like the safety and livelihood of our community depends on it, because it does. And we must start funding this faith like we believe in it. Like we believe that we too can build long-standing relational power in our communities and change them for the better. We could have space and time enough so that all who might be needing us could find us. A smaller group, a touchstone of some kind for everyone who wanted such a group to hold them steady amidst the storms of life. Perhaps another worship service, maybe during the week, at the evening, after hiring a director-level administrative support so I don't lose it, and then probably another minister. We could fund a space downtown with other progressive religions and organizations, a space to gather, to focus, to coordinate, a place where our community partner Flourish could run its important program supporting low-income women with holistic care, from mental health services and community relationships to financial classes. A place where our other partner, the Industrial Areas Foundation, known as IAF, our local interfaith community organizing group, could host meetings on the imperative local issues they just voted to focus on: access to health care and mental health, fair housing in our city, and access to education for all. We could, ourselves or with partners, create a not corporate, value-based, progressive, affordable daycare center and elder care living residents that this city deeply needs. Let's make this year the year where we might start to fund our faith like we believe in it. So, my practical ask of you, look at the Fair Share Giving Guide before you pledge this year. It was set up counterculturally to say that even in a nation where the wealthiest are being allowed to pay little to nothing, we believe that those who have the most wealth have a responsibility to share it for the good of all. And it was set up to proclaim that all of us can be giving to this fellowship on transformational levels, whatever our income levels or wealth. For giving is a spiritual discipline for all of us, and each pledge is essential. So, consider what you are willing to give. Consider what of your wealth you are willing to give up to make our community in these walls and beyond it a more loving and just place. This year, let's start to fund our faith like we believe in it. Let's start to fund our faith like we accept the reality that we and others desperately need it right now. Because we do. Adrienne Rich, one more time. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age perversely with no extraordinary power reconstitute the world. I choose boldly with beauty, love, joy, and justice to reconstitute this world of ours. Will you cast your lot with me?
Yes.